Hi guys, Lauren Oliver here for the first of my weekly Ask Lauren Oliver segments. I am going to be answering your questions today. I've picked a bunch of questions that you guys asked me on Twitter and on Tumblr, and if you want to submit a question in the future, you have for next week's, you have until Tuesday, June 11th. Write me on Twitter, use the hashtag AskLaurenOliver, or on Tumblr, and I will do my best to answer your questions. You can ask me anything about books or life or love, although I may only be able to give you very bad advice about the latter. We'll get started. So the first question comes from @SibbyCat8H. What kind of books did I grow up reading? Well, my favorite books when I was a kid, I really love Roald Dahl. Was one of my favorite authors, and C.S. Lewis and Wind in the Willows. I really loved books. Actually, the Redwall series was one of my favorite book series when I was a kid. I really loved series that were a little bit fantasy-based and a little bit reality-based. So I kind of liked books where, you know, you'd be in the real world, but then you push a door and you end up in Narnia. Or books where, you know, there are mice, but they live in an abbey and they do very human things. But I was definitely a super avid reader, so I pretty much read whatever I could get my hands on. My parents are both professors of literature, so there were a lot of books in the house. So I probably even read some things that I shouldn't have read when I was a kid. Next question is from @MeganXPerry29. How do I come up with my first sentence? That's a good question. I mean, some of it is kind of intuitive by now because I've been writing for so long. I've basically been writing since I was 9. But I think a good rule of thumb for first sentences is you really want to say something that's surprising and that gets the reader to want to read on. So for example, in Before I Fall, there's a sentence about how everyone says your life flashes before your eyes when you die, but that's not how it happens for Sam. And that's surprising because she's clearly then narrating from beyond the grave. And Delirium's first sentence, is about how it's been 64 years since the president identified love as a disease, which is surprising because we don't live in a world in which love is a disease, and that's an interesting concept. So I always feel like your first sentences should make the reader ask a question. And in general, that's a good rule of thumb. You want to keep the reader asking questions through your books so that they're forced to read on for the answers. @WhamBamShazam89. Do you feel like you need a different process and mindset when you're writing for middle grade kids or young adults? I get asked this question a lot. I mean, not really, because I think that for every book, there's a different mindset you need. I mean, I really think that it's really more about getting into the mindset of your main characters. Sorry, I want to do this so you don't see my hair. I have a cold. So I think it's more actually about each book necessitates its own set of rules and its own kind of its own particular psychology. I think it's really mostly important to really know the main character. If you know, and the main characters, plural if there are multiples. I mean, if you really know your characters, they're not going to lead you astray. They're going to kind of stay and help you navigate the world of your books, whether it's for, you know, middle grade or young adult audiences or even adult audiences. @Churches29, except Church is spelled with a V. Would you like to collaborate with any other writers? If so, who? I am collaborating with another writer right now, a top secret writer that I can't really say anything about. I would love, I mean, in my fantasies, sure, yeah, I would love to collaborate with a bunch of different writers. I think my ideal writer to collaborate with would be, well, other than J.K. Rowling, who I'm sure everybody wants to collaborate with, probably be Neil Gaiman, because I'm a huge fan of his stuff, and I'm a huge fan of kind of his aesthetic, I guess you could say, and his worlds and the way that his mind works. So, yeah, that would be my dream someday. Neil Gaiman! @Jamie's Lilies asks, are you planning to write a new adult or adult series anytime soon? I'm working on a bunch of stuff right now. I have 2 books coming out next year. One of them is a young adult book called Panic. One of them is an adult book, my first grown-up book, called Rooms. And my cat wants to come play. And I'm already, hello. Hi. Hi, Percy. Hi. Percy knows. Percy likes to write too. Um, and so those are my books next year, and I'm already working on some other things, although right now I'm not working on series for the most part. I'm doing some standalone. I might do my next teen book after Panic might be 2 books, but I'm still kind of feeling my way into different projects. I'm definitely would love to write a series in the future again, just not sure. I think I might need a little bit of a break. And the last question is from my girl at JustMel29. Mwah, I love you. And the question is, how does Paper Lantern Lit work? Paper Lantern Lit is a boutique literary development company, which means basically that we find writers who are talented and have great voices, but they've never really learned how to structure a story and plot a book. And we basically teach them how to write a book in the context of writing a book for us. And we teach them a lot about outlining and story structure and act breaks and wants versus needs and all of this nitty-gritty crafty stuff. And then in the end, hopefully we have a book and we can sell it. And it's great. It's really collaborative, and we love our authors and they love us. It's kind of like a paid MFA program where you learn a lot about writing. Or like writing boot camp, as people have said to us. So pick your comparison. So that's it. That's the Ask Lauren Oliver segment for this week, and I hope that you join me next week. And remember to send your questions by Tuesday, #Ask Lauren Oliver. I'll do my best to respond to any of your questions, and keep tuning in. Okay, bye.